Just what is it that you want to do?
Well, we want to be free. We want to be free to do what we want to do. And we want to get loaded. And we want to have a good time. And that's what we're going to do.
Well, wait, baby, let's go.
We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a party.
Welcome to the award-winning A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this is the first episode of the podcast since our monumental victory at the 2018 Football Blogging Awards, where A Celtic State of Mind was voted the UK's best football podcast, bar none. The FBA's aren't alternative awards, they also encompass the mainstream media. And we, A Celtic State of Mind, managed to win with no budget, no press passes, and with no one's hand in our glove. When I first heard that the podcast had been named as one of the finalists, I immediately applied for a day off my work and booked my train tickets down to King's Cross. Unfortunately, my right-hand man Kevin Graham couldn't make the awards ceremony, so I took my old dad. So down we went to Alexandra Palace and into the VIP area, and it was clear immediately that we were up against some of the biggest names English football had to offer in terms of content creation. We took our seats at the swanky awards ceremony and the winners were announced. It was only when they got to the podcast category that I realised I hadn't prepared a speech. I wouldn't be so presumptuous to do such a thing. And then it happened.
Just what is it that you want to do?
I'm gonna get deep down, I said. I'm gonna get deep down. Woo, hey!
We want to be free to do what we want to do.
When I got back to my table after picking up the award, my dad was shadowboxing Razor Ruddock. It was one of those bizarre nights.
Well, wait, baby, let's go.
At the end of a memorable evening, I realised I hadn't brought a bag, I had no box, I had nowhere to put the award, so a kind waitress wrapped it up in a tablecloth, stuck it in an M&S bag, and I disappeared into the night as an award-winning podcaster.
We want to be free to do what we want to do.
I carried that award through the night from Euston to Edinburgh, Edinburgh to Inverkeithing, and Inverkeithing to Dunfermline, gardening it like a newborn baby. Once I got home, into the kitchen I went to be met by Mrs. Dykes. I showed her a new ornament.
We want to be free to do what we want to do.
Carefully unwrapped the delicate circular gong and proudly handed it to the missus. She dropped it. A Celtic State of Mind is nearly a year old, and I'd like to thank the listeners and our guests who made us 2018's best football podcast in the UK. Our latest guest is Mr. JP Taylor. You may have listened to the first two parts of his podcast. You can now sit back and enjoy part 3 of JP's soundtrack to his Celtic life.
So, what's your fifth game, JP?
So my fifth game is again one that probably every Celtic fan
We're hurtling towards Martin O'Neill, eh?
We're hurtling very, very quickly towards Martin. But again, the whole thing about stopping the 10 was brilliant, but obviously we slipped back quite quickly for whatever reason. You know, manager changed. We probably didn't get the level of investment that we would all like to have seen in the team.
Wenger was unlucky.
He probably was in some respects, and he'd done some great things. Obviously, Moravcik was a marvellous signing, and obviously with the 5-1 victory as well. So there were some highlights, but as we all know, we couldn't maintain and sustain the success that we had with the team that stopped to 10. So ultimately that led to some changes, and then Martin came, and then you never really knew what you were going to get, because Martin came with a reputation of being successful, getting success for clubs like Leicester and other places that he had been. But you just didn't know. You didn't know how it was going to turn out. Obviously across the city, Dick Advocat was the manager, and they still looked strong. So you're going into a new season and you're thinking, hopefully we can maintain a challenge. And Martin was great because he was very amiable and he was very approachable, and he would talk to you, his staff and stuff like that, and he would ask what your opinion was. Do you go to games? Yeah, go to games. What do you think? What do you like? What do you not like? And he was keen to get right into the nuts and bolts of the club. He wanted to know everything about everyone and who you were, what your background was, and he listened. And any time you get an opportunity to speak to him, and he would say, what's your hopes for the season? And he would always say, well, listen, Rangers are the yardstick. They're the yardstick. They're the team that we need to beat, and that we need to catch them first, and then we'll take it from there. But they're ahead. They're the team in front at the moment. So you went into the game on, I think, August the 28th, 2000. Again, it was a memorable one for me because it was 1 year exactly from my dad being diagnosed with cancer. So it was quite a poignant weekend for us that weekend anyway. And it's the first Celtic Rangers game of the season. And I always remember my nephew was up from England at the time, Christopher, and he'd never been to a Celtic and Rangers game. And I was working in the ticket office, so I said, listen, son, you're going to need to go over yourself. And he was young. I'm trying to think what age Chris would have been, but he would only have been between maybe 10 and 12. But I said, look, if you go over, I says, one of the guys will take you over into your seat. I'll come over in about 5 minutes. I says, if you just sit where you are, and I says, nothing much is going to happen anyway. I says, they're really cagey games. I says, just watch it and enjoy it, and I'll be over. And
showing your football knowledge there. Eh?
Absolutely. Well, these games are always very tight, very nervous, and nothing much happens in the new opening exchanges. And by the time I got over, the kid's glasses had disappeared, his hair was standing on end, and we were 3-0 up in the 6-2 game. And he just kind of looked at me and he said, you said nothing much would happen. And I was like, but what would you rather? So the 6-2 game was the next game. And again, it was just, the way things came about, because we had slipped back again, and Martin had played it brilliantly by bigging them up and bigging them up and bigging them up. And I'm sure that getting into the game, he must have been pretty confident. We had a good team at that time, with Petrov, Sutton, Larson and Lambert Lane, and we were a strong team then as well. And it was great to see 6 goals against Rangers. Never seen 6 goals against Rangers in my life.
You still weren't confident though, even at 3-0 up, because of what had went previously.
No.
When they brought it back to 3-1. And I remember thinking, oh no, here we go.
If you remember rightly, Kev, we went 3-0 up, and then we probably should have went maybe 4. I think Henrik had a 1-1. A 1-1 with the goalkeeper, and he kind of messed it up a wee bit. And then they gradually kind of came back into the game, and they scored. Claudio Reyna scored for Rangers because Johnny Gould gets down and he almost saves it and scoops it back out, but it crossed the line. And then just at half time, my timings might be out here, but I'm pretty sure just before half time, Rod Wallace scores, and it's given offside, so it goes in at 3-1. But if it goes in at 3-2, it's maybe a different game, I don't know. But in the second half, I mean, we came out and we blitzed them, and we go 4-1 up, they get back to 4-2. But I take your point, at 4-2 and even 5-2, you're still nervous. You still get that fear. And at this point, Christopher's like, we've won easy. And I'm like, oh, we've no won till we've won. He's like, it was 5-2 and there's only 5 minutes left. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to take anything for granted. And then obviously we get the 6th goal with Sutton, and that just put the icing in the cake. But as I say, to see 6 goals against Rangers, and again a nice, bright, sunny day, it was a good memory, and I can remember after the game going up and sitting with my granda that night. He wasn't at the game, and he was always very nervous about watching Celtic Rangers games as well anyway, so he was, I dare say everybody's got people like that in the family where they just pace up and down for an hour and a half because they just can't watch it. And I went up and sat with him and we just talked about the game, and he asked me about it, and I told him about the goals and stuff. But it was a really, really good day, a great day kind of thing. So that made it into the top 7.
Brilliant. And you know what I remember? Noel Gallagher was at that game, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was.
Yes.
I seen him playing live at Reading Festival on the Sunday. I was at Reading.
Aye,
and
is that
Celtic
right?
beat Rangers 6-2.
Wow.
And by the way, they were blown off the stage by Primal Scream, who were second on the bill.
Well,
Then Oasis came on.
Well,
Yeah.
at that time, the gig on the Green in Glasgow was
that's
on
right.
at that time. So it must have been by the same promoter, because on the Saturday night I saw Oasis and the Primal Scream at Glasgow Green.
And then they've come down and played Red.
And they went down and played Reading.
Aye. That would have been right at the time, aye. So it would have been just
Paul
obviously
Weller
system work.
headlined the Friday night. But I didn't go to see him. I went to see the Super Furry
Was
Animals.
he wearing socks?
No, I went to see the Super Furries.
I went to see him on the Friday. No, he's no sock wearing days were behind him at that point. He had big thick woolly socks on. It was Glasgow, he was freezing.
So we're in the year 2000. What's the track?
So year 2000, again, going back to the Alfie thing. So I kind of dipped a wee bit back in. I remember being in a bar and there was some music on, and it was back to the jazz stuff. And I was talking to, I knew the guy that owned the pub anyway, and I was like, "What is that that's on at the back?" And he was like, "It's Miles Davis, Kind of Blue." I'd heard it, but I'd never really kind of paid any attention to it, and it really kind of gripped me. So I started to get into a wee bit more Miles Davis and started kind of listening to more jazz again and getting back into my jazz. So the track is off Kind of Blue. It's the opening track for Kind of Blue. It's So What, which is a classic jazz track, to be fair. And I think anybody that knows their jazz would obviously be familiar with it. But just a lovely laid back jazz track, and I kind of flit in and out of it for every now and again, but at that particular time I'd started to listen to a lot more jazz, a wee bit more John Coltrane and stuff as well. So, but that one was a standout at the time. So, So What is it?
If you like a bit of jazz, John Hopkins. He's a sort of more techno artist, but he's got jazz drums and trumpets and that. You might like some of his
no,
stuff.
we'll give it a go, to be fair. I've got some gigs coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. My pal and I are got some kind of jazz gigs and stuff coming up in probably next 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm looking forward to that again. But as I say, just So What stood out just because it's a classic track, it's a classic album, it's a great album. So yeah, round about that time, my wife hates jazz. I think that's maybe why I just play it in the house, just to annoy her kind of thing. But aye, that's the one.
JP, we're in 2000 for song number 5. Where do we go for your 6th song and your 6th memory?
So for the 6th song, we leave Scotland and we go to Portugal. Great country for Celtic anyway, but 2003, unfortunately, the way that it all ended wasn't great, but a really memorable year for Celtic fans, and for me as a Celtic fan, to get to a game, the way Scottish football had gone, and obviously, you know, what we'd seen through the 70s and the 80s and stuff, you never ever thought you'll see Celtic in a European final. And all of a sudden, we've got Boavista and we're 2 games away. And then we get the game at Celtic Park. And it always stands out with me because I think it was the first time I actually, at that particular time of the year, we were getting into a European match and it was still light. I was like, no, European games are in the dark, this isn't right? You know, so...
that's a good point, actually. Your memories are just like evening games, you know.
I thought it was actually was weird. I thought it created a weird atmosphere. Now, it might have just been the fact that obviously people were really hyped up for the fact that it was a semi and it was really a really tense atmosphere. But I did think it was. I thought it was weird, and I thought it contributed to the weirdness of the night. That you were going to such a big European game. Okay, you've got the qualifiers and stuff in July, and I get all of that. But this was different. This was a meaningful European game, and they only happened under the floodlights. Mm-hmm. So to be getting this meaningful game in Europe on a light night just seemed strange. And then of course we draw the game, and there's a real sense of disappointment about it. And then
sorry to interrupt. My highlight that night was I was going into my seat, and this guy walked into me, and it turned out to be Robert Young, who's now sadly departed, the guitarist of the Primal Scream.
Aye.
And Bobby Gillespie followed him, and Manny followed him, and Robert Young rocked straight into me.
Brilliant.
That was my highlight of that night.
Well, Manny was a big Celtic fan as well. Mm-hmm. I know that he used to try and come to games as well. But from that, we had the disappointment of the draw, and then we had to go. We went to Porto, myself and a couple other people from work, obviously to do like the pre-op stuff. As you'll remember, Portugal was due to host the European Championships, so the stadium, or most of the stadiums, were all being redeveloped. Boavista's stadium was being used, so they were getting quite considerable work done, which meant both ends behind the goal were gone. So they had 2 stands. And just from memory, I think it was like 1,600 tickets. So we went and we met with the fella, Calvas his name was, and he kind of ran Boavista. He's now actually a real bigwig in Portuguese football. I think he may be president of Benfica now, but someone was telling me that he's almost certainly going to get the presidency of the Portuguese Football Federation, whatever it is anyway. But anyway, this wee fella... he was a nice guy, but he ran everything with Boavista, and I had a meeting with him and said to him, look, 1,500 is not going to cut it. It's, if you get any appreciation of what's what's going to descend upon you. And he's like, oh no, we can't do it. And I said, but is there nothing you can do? And he said, well no, we have our season ticket holders in the other stand. And the other stand was bigger. It wasn't massive, but I'd be guessing now, but let's just say for talking's sake, I think it might have been 4,000 or 5,000. And I said, how many season ticket holders have you got? And he says, well, we've got about 3,500 or whatever. And I said, so it might not be full. And he says, well, it might not be full. And I said, but why don't you just take them and put them in here? And he said, well, we don't have enough in this end. I said, but we'll just buy that whole stand off you. And you could see his eyes lighting up, and he's like, oh, really? I says, if you agree, I'll phone back to my work and I'll see what we can do. And I called back and said, look, would we pay everything up front for a stand that will give us twice, maybe 2.5 times the allocation that we would get? And it was generally favourable. And I said to him, I said, listen, I think we would do it. And he was so close. He was so close. And he's like, so, if you don't sell them, I don't take any back. And I says, no. I says, we'll buy the lot. We will buy the lot. So I was trying to buy the guy's stadium. And he almost bit. He almost bit, and then they end up he says, I can't do it. He says, this is my club and I can't do that to our supporters. So he held firm, and of course they actually didn't sell all their tickets for that stand, and there were Celtic fans in that stand. But as you can imagine, as the game got closer, the intensity grew, and he was never off the phone to us, and he's saying, you have to tell people, they must stop calling, we have no tickets. And I was like, aye, I've got every chance in it. And he was sending us faxes and all that. Please, you must tell people, do not call, do not come to the match. There are no tickets. Please, this must stop. We drove him off his head. And so it came to the night of the game. And we managed to... They had some boxes, like small executive boxes that kind of took between 4 and 8 people. And I managed to get about 4 of them. So... I think I'm right in saying there was tickets for Dermot, and Dermot was bringing some guests and stuff. So he says, well, we can put them in one of the boxes, because that'll be fine, and it'll be good for his guests, because the space was really at a premium. So he said, that's fine. And so come the night, we get people in. You can imagine, everybody's looking for tickets. It's pandemonium outside, but we managed to get pretty much as many people in as we can get in. They're in the stadium, and I'm thinking, where am I going to watch the game? And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go along to one of them boxes, because we've put Dermot's guests in and somebody needs to kind of look after them. So I'll jump in there and I'll just be main host, and that'll all work out fine. So it was a box for 8, and I get in, and there must have been about 36 people. It was like, what's going on? What they had done, because there was all sorts of people. And I tried to talk to this guy. I says, listen, we've bought this box. And he went, aye, so have we. And then somebody else said, aye, so have we. They just kept selling the box to people. So we had 3 different sets of Celtic fans, and we had Dermot's guests, and they were all piled in, and it was one of the boxes you could go out, so it was like you were in the seating deck kind of thing, but, out of glass. And we were all piled up in chairs and standing in tables, and it was like a wee mini stadium inside, but we were all piled up, and as you can remember, it was a nerve-wracking game. It wasn't a particularly exciting game. It became a very exciting game, but there wasn't a lot of chances and stuff in the game, but it was just very nervy. And then obviously as we get closer towards the end, and we managed to get the goal, and just to see Celtic, just the realisation that Celtic are going to be in a European final was amazing, and the feeling was terrific. And I remember at the end of the game, the wee fella Kincalves, he was in tears because, as you know, Porto obviously had won in Italy. So he was hoping for an all-Porto final, and we spoiled it, and he was crying. And so that was unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. And we went back, so it was like, right, and we'll get a wee celebration. And all the Boavista directors, in fairness to them, said, look, we're going home. Which you could understand, but they just left the bar and said, listen, help yourselves. But we're away home. Magic. Which they did, and we did as well. So we did help ourselves. And I remember there was a box of programmes, and I said, I'm taking them. And I remember walking down the street and just people descending on me, and it was either, you need to get me a ticket or give one of their programmes. And I was lucky that I had a full box of programmes that I was carrying. And I remember meeting boys for the Gorbals that I knew, Mark McKenna and stuff, and they were just taking, I actually think they were selling them. I think they were taking off me and then selling them to other people. But anyway, the programmes were all getting passed out, and it was all tickets this and tickets that, and of course it would all turn into a nightmare at the end. But for the next hour or two, it was brilliant, and getting back onto the plane, and the team was in the plane, and big round of applause. It was that was great. Just the knowledge that Celtic were in the final.
I find it really quite interesting you're saying about the boy, what was his name?
Kincalves. Yeah.
Boavista went into serious financial difficulty just after that, and I think now they've just recovered. But that stadium has been rebuilt. I mean, they play to about 3,000 people in that stadium. I read it when Saturday comes.
Aye.
They go...
Because they're not a big... I mean, they're not a big... They were never really a big deal. I know that we had played them before in maybe the late 70s. We played Boavista, and Kenny Dalglish had a real standout game. But we had a great European tie with Boavista before. And that wee guy was just... He was heartbroken because, I mean, it would have been an amazing thing.
So
for
you nicked
them.
his programmes and drank his bar dry?
Pretty much, aye. Well,
Maybe they wouldn't have got into financial difficulty if they'd have built 5,000 tickets to the Celtic fans.
Maybe it was their bar bill that drove them into financial difficulty. I'm not sure, but listen, it's Glasgow boys. What's he expecting? That's what I mean. Which, in fairness to them, they left the bar open. Just as a wee aside, on that run, we had obviously played Celta Vigo, and Celta Vigo. I can't remember the fella's name, but really smart fella, Spanish guy, maybe probably then in his late 50s, early 60s, white hair. And he was a guy that they kind of dealt with everything. And when we get to Vigo for the second leg, and they are super confident, and we have the pre-meetings and stuff like that as well, and he's making all his wee jokes and his wee asides and talking about tickets, and you don't need to worry about tickets for later and all of that type of thing. And they were just so confident that they were going to beat us, really, really confident. And they didn't, and we obviously went through. So after the match, young Michael McDonald was with us, Michael's club director's son. Michael was just young at the time, so we were kind of half looking after him. So we said we'll go back downstairs and we'll go into the bar or something, and we'll catch up with Michael and get him back to his dad and maybe get a wee drink and all that. The guys at Boavista, fair enough, went home but left the bar open. The guys at Celta Vigo went home and locked the bar and switched the lights and just that was it. So everybody went downstairs after the game. They just went like that, straight out the door, dubbed up, no bar, no nothing. So at least the Portuguese had a wee bit more. They were a wee bit more hospitable. But aye, that was one from Celta Vigo.
So we're at 2003.
We're at 2003. So the song, harking back to Paul Weller, he done a tour just round about that time called Days of Speed, and it was just him and a guitar. And I was fortunate enough, and I went to see it I went to see him at Calling Exchange at that tour, and it's probably my favourite Weller gig, to be honest with you. It was brilliant. So some acoustic, some electric, but just him and a guitar, and he just battered through all the old favourites. So from the album Days of Speed, the tracks Town Called Malice, you could probably pick anyone, to be honest with you, because they're all great tracks. But Town Hall Malice, just simply because it's a well-known track, obviously a big number one for the Jam. But it got everybody going, and the whole crowd was up, and the place was absolutely rocking. So that's the one. Town Called Malice.
Powerful. Brilliant. After all the years, eh?
Definitely. And he had a stool, he just sat in the stool, and he just, he'd swap from electric to acoustic and back and forth, and he would do some Jam stuff, and he even done a couple of Style Council songs, and then he'd done some of his own solo stuff, and it was just effortless, it was just, he just battered through them. But it was a great gig, there was a really, really good vibe at the gig that night. Corn Exchange isn't always my favourite venue, to be honest with you, but that night the sound was great. It was a really good. It was a great night, and I remember being with one of my old school pals, John Robertson. John came with us that night, and that was good as well, because it was like anything in life, you lose touch with people, but we were pals since we were kids, and John was always a big fan of the Jam and Paul Weller as well, and I managed to get his tickets, and we went and had a great time.
Stop dreaming of the quiet life, 'cause it's the one you'll never know. And quit running for a runaway bus, 'cause those rosy days are few. Yeah, stop apologizing for the things you've never done, 'cause time is short, life is cruel. It's up to us to change this town called Malice. Yeah. Rows and rows of disused milk was undying in the dairy yard, and 100 lonely housewives dropped empty milk bottles to their hearts, hanging out their roll of letters on the line to dry. It's enough to make you stop believing. The tears come fast, the fuels in a town called this town called Malice. struggle off to struggle, year after year. The atmosphere's a fine blend of vice. I'm almost stone cold dead in a town called Malice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The whole streets believe in Sunday's roast beef gets dashed against the cold. So I'll cut down a beer around the kids that will give. So be a decision, town called Malice. The ghost of a steam train echoes down my track. It's at the moment bound for nowhere, just going round and round. Playground kids and creaking swings, lost off in the breeze. We're going for hours and I probably will. Till I push the joy back in this town called Malice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This town called Malice. Yeah. Woo, woo, yeah.
Great memories.
Very good. This is number 7. This
The
is
Magnificent
the
Seven.
Magnificent
The
Seven,
Magnificent
and
Seven.
it is magnificent as well. We're kind of running out of years. So the last game is Aberdeen from last season in the Scottish Cup. An invincible season. We hadn't done a treble obviously since 2001, and we spoke about it earlier. The ones that we had done previous, I have to say I was too young to really remember or appreciate them at all. So the first one that I'd seen that meant anything to me, a meaningful one, was 2001. And just obviously the manager's first season, the new signings, you get through a couple of games, you've no get beat, and a few more, you've no get beat. You win the League Cup, you've no get beat. You get to the end of the year, you've no get beat. And it just keeps going. And listen, we were all there, so every game just felt like an event. Every game, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait for the weekend, for the games. And they were coming thick and fast. And we had great victories, obviously. You know, starting off 5-1. You know, there was all the talk. You know, Joey Barton had came to Scottish football, and it was, oh, this was the challenge, this was it, and be there when it happens. Well, I was there when it happened. I was there when we beat them 5-1. I absolutely battered them.
I'm still waiting.
Aye, well, I think, well, I don't know how long you'll be waiting, but just in terms of that whole be there when it happens, well, we were there when it happened. We were there when we've seen history, and we've seen a whole invincible, unbeaten season with 3 trophies coming back to Celtic Park. So that was it. And that 5-1 game that day just set the tone. And again, a nice sunny day that started it off. We went across there at New Year, came back for a goal down, 1-2-1. And then just the games just kept coming, and the great victories. You know, Tommy Roderick up in Aberdeen, the 1-0. And we were hanging on a wee bit at the end of that one, to be fair. And the game, I think that game maybe lasted about 2 hours. I think it was probably. Because he just kept playing. You remember?
That's right, aye.
And it was free kick, and you're like, that's time up now. No, it isn't. It's another free kick. And because they hit the bar at the end, remember? They hit the bar in the 118th minute. But we obviously held on and get the win. So the season was punctuated with great games, great memories, and so it all rolls on to the last one, and it's everything's on that game. Everything's absolutely on that game, and for once it wasn't a nice day. It was a pretty dismal day.
It was warm though. It was muggy.
It was really, really
horrible.
hot. Aye, it was really, really hot, and I was there. My daughter was with me that day as well, which makes it a wee bit more memorable as well. But again, we go the goal down, we equalise quite quickly, and then second half, as you know, piling it on, chance, hit the post, chance, and you start to doubt, you know, you start to think, and I go all the way back, you know, to the Hearts semi-final, to the Dundee United final, to the Rangers 4-2, and I'm thinking, surely we can't do it again. And it's getting closer to the end, and it's 85 minutes, 86 minutes, 87, and you're saying, if you're going to score, you're going to score in the last minute. And you can't really, can you? Because you can't go the whole season, get to the last game, the Scottish Cup final, you win the treble, you're a goal down, you've had probably one of your star players taken off with a bad injury, you get it to one each. No, you can't. It's just like making it up, isn't it? You know, if you're going to watch that in a film, you're like, it's pure rubbish. Do you know what I mean? And they're going to get beaten and they come back and win, and they won everything, and it was all great. And it happened. And you just see him getting into the box. And I can still remember exactly my exact actions at the time. I was on an aisle seat at Hampden in the main stand, and I ran away down to the front when he scored. And I don't know why I done it. I just ran away down the stairs, and I kind of jumped up and down a few times. And obviously you see the footage where the boys all run into the crowd. That was just along to my right, and I started to think, I want to jump into that. And then it kind of dawned on me, no, you work for Celtic, behave yourself. Just go back to your seat and behave, which I did. And I went back up, and my daughter was standing in floods of tears, I think just with the excitement and the emotion. And I was there with my uncle Alec, who I've been going to football with for years, and Alexander was there as well, his boy, and it just a great day, you know. Just as I say, it goes back to the thing. If you seen it in a film or something, you would actually say, "Nah, that's pure garbage. It's just nonsense." But it turned out the way that it did, and thankfully, we scored the goal and we won the treble, and that wrapped up the season nicely. So, that's the 7 games, all pretty good games, to be fair.
Magical games, games that are chapters in Celtic's history.
Pivotal moments.
Will always be remembered. So we're at track 7. We're very up to date.
We are very up to date, but then we're not really up to date, because I've kind of threw a wee wobbler in with this one as well. So 2017, football wise, brilliant. When I was 17, I remember my pal saying to me, do you want to go to Edinburgh to see this band? And none of us could drive, so we get the bus through Buchanan Street to Edinburgh, and it must have took honestly about 2 hours. And we get through and we go to the Playhouse, and it's by this point, I think it's about maybe 7 o'clock, but we get to Edinburgh Playhouse, and the band are standing right outside, but they're kids, only young boys. And so he's like to me, look, they're the band and all that. So we went over and we spoke to them, and we says, what time are you coming on it? And they says, we'll probably be on about 9:30. The last bus home was 10 o'clock. And that was our only way of getting home. So we exchanged pleasantries, and then realised that we were going to be on the bus home by the time the band came on, and we never got to see them. But we did get to see them eventually, and we kind of followed them round a wee bit, and we met the band quite a number of times, and they were really, really, really nice guys. And then last year they made an appearance at the Barrowlands, and it was practically impossible to get tickets. So if you can imagine, Depeche Mode at the Barrowlands, you're never getting tickets. And I tried everybody possible, and it was Johnny McElhone. Johnny managed to come up with a couple of tickets for me just not long before the gig. So me and my big pal Paul went to see Depeche Mode at the Barrowlands last year, and roughly just around about this time actually. And it was brilliant, it was sensational, and the highlight was Personal Jesus. So that has to be my song for 2017, because after seeing them live again, after all those years, for 17 and seeing them however many years later, obviously you take your highlights of the show on with you, and you go back and you listen to all your old stuff again. And that kind of track kind of carried all through the summer with me, to be honest with you, because it's a great song, and I loved the song, and on the night they were dynamite. So Personal Jesus for 2017.
Reach out, touch faith.
JP, you've been an absolute legend. So thanks very much for your time.
A pleasure, guys, honestly.
Thanks, JP.
It's a great honour, really. Thank you. It's great to get asked along to do it, and I'm delighted to do it. Thank you.
A Celtic State of Mind's previous episodes can be accessed by searching iTunes, Spreaker, or your pre-installed podcast player. Make sure to subscribe and you won't miss our upcoming episodes with former players, musical icons, documentary makers and Celtic supporters. You can keep up to date with us and get in touch at Paul Dykes, at A Northern Pros and at Celtic Star Pod. We also have a new website, www.thecelticstar.com, and on that website we have a host of writers giving you daily Celtic news, including Jim Craig, who gives a morning blog. We also have contributors such as myself, Kevin Graham, David Potter and Scotty Allcroft. Tune in next week, we will have another guest with a Celtic State of Mind.